Hi everybody, welcome to LearnBassToday.com. I'm Casey, and in our second lesson here, we are going to go over proper left hand and right hand techniques for playing the electric bass. So let's go ahead and get started with our right hand. The right hand is your plucking hand. It's the hand you use, or most of us are going to use, to actually hit the strings on the bass. If you're left-handed, obviously you're going to use your left hand. The technique is the same, you're just using a different hand. So the way I generally think of the right hand technique is kind of like a crab pincher. Your fingers are going to be a little bit curled, and a big reason for that is because if you take a look at your index and middle finger, if you're like most of us, your index finger is a little bit shorter than your middle finger. And a way to compensate for that is to bend them. If you bend them, they're almost in the exact same place. There's still a little difference, but for the most part, it makes up for that. Same thing with your thumb. You want to be bent a little bit. Basically what you do to start is you take your thumb, you place it on your pickup, or some basses have a little plastic piece right here that you can rest your finger on, and I have a pickup. Use your pickup or whatever you have right there to rest your thumb on. And with your middle finger, you basically are going to pluck through, almost like pulling and touching your other finger, like your crab pincher is closing with one finger. And it's the same thing with your index finger. You're going to pinch through to your thumb. You don't have to touch your thumb, but getting started, it may be good to just get used to that technique of pulling through towards your thumb. You're not going towards the body of the bass. You're going through towards your thumb. And you want to alternate both fingers. Now, it's good to start really slow and just get used to alternating your fingers. First finger, middle finger, first finger, middle finger. 1, 2, 1, 2. And basically what you're going to do is work on just playing the E string, getting nice, solid, even notes. You don't want one finger to be louder than the other for our purposes right now. You don't want one to have a really big attack and one really light attack. Strive for, being consistent and even. Now, let's move up to our A string. And when moving up to each of the strings, what I do is I move my thumb off of the pickup and onto the string directly above. So right now my thumb is sitting on the E string because I'm going to do the same thing on the A string. I'm going to pluck the A string. And it's the same idea. You're plucking through the string towards your thumb. I move my finger onto the A string and I'm plucking the D string, alternating my first two fingers. And basically you think of your thumb as floating, and it's going to mute the string below. If you leave your thumb on the pickup and you hit the A string, you might accidentally go through and hit the E string, which, just for getting used to playing, isn't what you want to do. You want to get one single string while none of the other strings are ringing. One other thing you may find while I'm playing with my right hand is I'm generally keeping my arm off of the body of the bass. If you rest your arm on the body of the bass, you'll notice my wrist at that point is very bent, and it's like a 90-degree angle. You want to try to keep your wrist as straight as possible while playing for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to tire your arm and your wrist out, and you're going to become fatigued pretty quick by cutting off circulation to your hand and your fingers. You may find that your fingers will go numb. You want to avoid that, because if you continue to do that, you may develop tendonitis or carpal tunnel syndrome, neither of which are things you want or need, and it's going to ruin your career really quick. So those are the basics on the right hand. Make sure you're staying loose and alternating your left and right fingers. Now let's go over your left hand technique. Basically, the left hand is your fretting hand, and what you want to do is you want to take the thumb of your left hand and you want it to sit kind of perpendicular to the neck of the bass, but right in the middle of the neck. And once you have your thumb there, you want to curl your fingers around and try to get one finger per fret. So right now I have my index finger, or we'll call it the first finger, it's on the 3rd fret. My middle finger is on the 4th fret, which is G sharp or A flat. My ring finger is on the 5th fret of the E string, that's A. My pinky is on the 6th fret, which is B flat. Basically, I have fairly large hands. I can generally get one finger per fret down to the lowest 1st fret here. If you have smaller hands, you may want to start up higher. The frets are a little closer together. And don't fret about not being able to get all the frets, because it's your muscles in your hand, and it's going to probably feel uncomfortable at first. But eventually you'll get to the point where you can get your fingers one finger per fret, and it'll feel fairly comfortable. You'll also notice that my wrist is fairly straight too. Much like the right hand, you want to make sure that you're not bending your wrist at some strange angle, because you're going to injure yourself, you're going to fatigue yourself, and it's just not good. You want to try to be as natural as possible. Now, with our left hand, basically you just push straight down with your finger and you're sounding a note. You don't necessarily have to be right on the line. I'm generally right behind the fret line there, and if you're right on, it's really easy if you go too far, if you push too hard, to hit the wrong fret. So some people aim right at the middle. I aim so that my finger is basically right behind the fret. And what you want to do is you just press down basically towards your thumb, and you're sounding a G. Open, G. A really important thing to think about when doing this is, at first you're really going to be pressing hard, and you feel like you have to just muscle that string in order to get it down. And that's going to be natural at first. So try to figure out how much or how little pressure you need to use when pushing down that string, and get it to the point where you're not really using a lot of muscle, you're just barely holding the string down. So now let's take and slowly use each finger and push down a fret and hear the note, and just kind of see what it looks like. 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. Now go backwards. Now in doing that, you'll notice I was alternating my 1st and 2nd finger on my right hand, and I'm keeping my thumb on the pickguard, or excuse me, on the pickup, because we're playing on the E string. Now let's do what we just did going up, and instead of going back down on the same string, let's start over on the A string and go up. And we're going to do that through all of the strings, nice and slow, and we're just going to get a feel for alternating left and right hand, our fingers on our right hand, and keeping one finger per fret, and just moving our hands up and down, and just getting used to fretting notes. We're not worrying about what notes they are or anything like that, we're just getting our hands moving. So let's do it. Another important thing, which I'm not the best at, is to not lift your fingers any farther off the strings than you need to when you're fretting, because it cuts down on your economy of motion, which is an important factor in playing once you get playing more. So that's about it for our left and right hand techniques. A couple of keys are to make sure that you're staying nice and loose, you're alternating your 1st and 2nd fingers on your right hand, keeping them a little bit bent, not resting your arm on the body of the bass. You want to keep your wrists nice and straight, both with your right and your left hands, one finger per fret, and just stay nice and loose. Once again, I am Casey. This is LearnBassToday.com. You can reach me at info@learnbasstoday.com. If there's anything you'd like to see on this website, if you'd like to contribute questions, comments, I'm here for you. Have a great day and happy playing.